here at Business at Breakfast 10 a.m. every week we have one of the members come in and share with the group further insights into their business, or they enlighten the group a little bit more about themselves. The members can use this time to problem solve or seek assistance from the group as a collective. The time is theirs to use however they would like. Today we have the wonderful Dr. Chris Willems, who's going to talk to us about the work that he does with getting people comfortable on camera. So give me 1 second while I find some more information about him so I can introduce you. Oh no.
Sorry, don't worry about it, Misty. I will explain myself.
Really? All right. Well, Dr. Chris comes. Here we have Dr. Chris. I know I've got a bio in there. Here we have Dr. Chris, who's come in today. So he comes to, there you go, I said the word. He comes to both meetings, the 7 a.m. and the 10 a.m. meeting. Dr. Chris, I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm going to give you 8 minutes to tell us more about what it is you do. At the 8-minute mark, I'm going to do this. Right? I'm not going to cut you off. That's your chance to wrap it up and allow for questions. If you happen to be less than 8 minutes, just more time for questions at the end. With that, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thanks very much, Misty. And good morning, everyone, again. My name is Dr. Chris Willems. And as I said before, my business is called Arts Media Consultants. I have to be careful not to say that really quickly because it can sound like Arts Media. So I'm taking a lesson from Misty's suggestion earlier with the S word. I'm a presenting coach and I sell loathing to loving presenting through my trademarked CCC Mastery program. It costs $6,000 and the people who buy it are business owners, entrepreneurs and professionals, excuse me, who need to get comfortable, confident and credible on camera so they can present their businesses online. The name of the program is called the CCC Mastery Program, and you understand why, because it's comfortable, confident and credible on camera. And that program has evolved over the last 20 years through my work as a corporate communication coach and consultant, specializing in nonverbal and on-camera communication. But my broader professional background spans 40-something years in the performing arts and television. And for 25 of those years, I was a professional mime artist. And I'll just about hear you all thinking, what the hell has mime got to do with corporate communication? Well, when you consider that mime at its most fundamental consists of the analysis, manipulation and stylization of body language, and the body language is so much part of human communication, it kind of starts to make sense. But I'm not here to teach you how to be mime artists. Although having said that, can everyone do this, please? Splat, splat, release, release. Come on, say the words if it helps. Splat, splat, release, release. Two really important things to remember. One is your hand has to be really flat when it hits the air. No thumbs going through the brickwork, thank you. And when it hits the air, it needs to be almost audible, like lots of tension followed by complete relaxation away. Splat, splat, keep going, release, release. Okay, that was terrible. But what that illustrates is the kind of thought one has to put into that. It's just that simple illusion. That's the kind of thought that, and active awareness, I call it, that goes into the whole body when you're doing a presentation, whether that's on stage or on screen. So in any case, so the CCC Mastery Program draws on all of that stuff, and it's informed by that professional background and those quite very specialized skills in performance and communication. People I've typically coached include business owners, CEOs, and other high-powered executives, university academics, entrepreneurs and innovators who are seeking investment from angel investors or government funding authorities, the odd politician, some very odd politicians, and sports people who might be looking to become commentators at the end of their active sports careers. And my coaching in the live context has increasingly evolved to the on-camera context, which has become much more prominent in the last few years, particularly for clients such as university academics who need to increasingly teach their courses online. And of course, with the arrival of our friend COVID, online communication has accelerated exponentially, not just for academics, but for all of our professional communication contexts. So thus we find ourselves, excuse me, here today in the Zoom room. And if we regard our visual presence in this Zoom room as something of a microcosm of a business video, it provides a useful quick reference guide in terms of some of the factors we need to consider in all, not just Zoom, but in all of our video and online communication. So, that provides a broad overview of what I do and how I help professionals with their particular communication challenges, issues, priorities, and actively get them from loathing presenting to loving it. Any questions?
Nice work, Dr. Chris. You did that in just under 4 minutes. Well done.
4 minutes. Wow. And I didn't even speak fast, did I? Was I really fast?
No, you weren't. What you did, you were on point. You told us exactly what you did, the history of how that came about, and then anything else we needed to know. So like the people who buy it and why. I really like how you make special note of the sports people. Sports people are really good. And this, I hear this every time that you say it. Sports people are really good at their sport. And really, for what purpose are they not a commentator at the end? They would have thought it's because they're actually rubbish at talking on camera. And then I keep remembering going way back in time. Who remembers in Australia? Who remembers Susie Moroney? Susie Moroney is our international icon. Apparently swims, all over the world, right? I remember when she was in her late, she swam from here to New Zealand and Australia and off to America, and she could swim everywhere, right? And every time they went to film her, and whether they filmed her after a swim, well, clearly she was dead, but even before a swim, someone would, so even before a swim, like before she got into the water, a news reporter would be there and say, how do you feel about this? And she was, to be fair, terrible on camera. She couldn't really say anything. She didn't, she did not present well at all. And I remember when she was in her late 20s, she was thinking about getting a job rather than doing the swimming all the time and actually going out into the workforce, because, how long can you swim around the world for, right? And I remember there being a 60 Minutes reporter thing on Susie Moroney and how awful that Susie Moroney couldn't get a job as an air hostess on Qantas, and yet she's a national treasure. And I was young at the time, like I was in my teens, and I was watching it thinking, yeah, but she can't speak to anyone. She's never had teamwork training. She's, everyone else starts working at Woolworths and learns how to say, hi, how you going? And she hasn't done that. She's just in a shark tank, like swimming everywhere. So she doesn't have that teamwork ability. She doesn't have that ability to talk. So you do remind me of that, of the importance of, she could have been anything, including a commentator. She certainly knows long distance swimming. However, and I'd say it's just not like she's not without the ability to have knowledge and Google things and read. It's just that it's the presenting side that really did, where she sort of fell down and where her injuries really lay, was in the presenting. So that's what you remind me of, Chris. So it does really, it sort of brings it home. So for me, Stuart, you've got your hand up, and then Sylvia.
I do indeed. And I tell you what, it's just by chance, the way that I sort of don't really have a problem with speaking at all, apart from just then. But that's because as a musician, basically people would say, talk to the people, and you'd go, hello, and then just start. So that was just something I had to fall into and learn really quickly. But business owners don't get that opportunity. They don't get the opportunity to work with someone who's done it for years, like yourself, Misty, and especially like Dr. Chris as well, who's has presented to people on many levels without words as well. That's so important. So look, I highly recommend connecting with Dr. Chris. I had the pleasure of connecting with him during COVID, and his teachings are just amazing. So and anybody who is wanting to punch up to the next level, couldn't recommend it anymore. Yes, please get in touch with Dr. Chris.
Yeah, I didn't start off speaking. I was a terrible speaker, and I was very quiet until after I was 18. I deliberately became a barmaid for the purpose of saying, hi, how you going? What would you like to drink? Had to practice that one over and over and over until I could go up to, and it was at a bowling club, and what's the weather like outside, and how are you going with your bowls? So I had to learn how to do it. It took a really long time, Chris. I think it takes about 6 weeks to do this with you?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
it took me longer than that. Times that by at least 6 before I progressed from, hi, how are you going? What would you like to drink? And everyone had exactly the same drink to, and how is your bowls going today? So yeah, we do have to learn it, you know, but there is easier ways than what I did it. Sylvia, what's your question?
Yeah, not a question, Dr. Chris, but what it did bring to my mind is even just things like presenting at my local church when I often get asked to do readings. I don't like to stand up in front of people and read. I can read quite well, but I hate to do it in front of people. So yeah, I could really see a benefit of that in so many different ways. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. And Sylvia, I would say in response to what you just said, welcome to the human race. Very few people like presenting, especially to camera. It's a scary, scary thing. It's a very intimidating thing talking to that piece of glass. Yeah.
Yeah, is it that they say that most people would rather be the person in the coffin than the one speaking at the funeral?
That's
Carla, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chris. It's very interesting. I kind of wanted to just ask, and it's probably a hard one, but what would you say if you had to pick like one thing that most people you work with struggle with when it comes to getting up and presenting? What do you think that thing is?
In the last 22 years, the most common question I'm asked consistently is, what do I do with my hands? And that's in the live context, but even in the on-camera context as well. And my answer is always, I don't know until I see what you do with your hands. Then we'll work out what you need to do with your hands, because everyone uses their hands differently. But you know, hands are really important. Keep gesturing. If you're a person who gestures, keep gesturing. Don't stop gesturing, whether it's on screen or on stage. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, I'm a big gesturer. But actually, another thing, it's interesting you say that, because something that helped me really a lot going back, like when I was doing presentations, you know, for pitches at work and stuff, was someone told me to hold a paper clip in my hand. Like if you didn't have a, you know, a clicker or a pen or something, because it was something that you can hold that nobody can actually see, but it sort of directs your brain away from the fear that's going on up there into something tangible. And it really helped me so much, because like it kind of grounded me into something and got me out of my head. And so yeah, I don't know if you
anything. Some people have a rubber band on their wrist that they go, you know, slap every now and again to remind themselves of something, you know, slow down or whatever. So yeah, that we all have our little secret techniques, and you've just revealed yours, Carla.
None today.
Excellent.
Thanks, Dr. Chris.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Carla. Well done. There was something I was going to add in, but no, I'm just going to leave that out. I'm sure it'll come to me later. About hands. I talk with my hands all the time, and I have to say, because I'm on screen all the time, I talk with my hands, and you can't actually see it. And I realize that sometimes that you can't see it, and then I have to bring my hands up higher to make things happen so that people can see what's going on.
A really important thing to remember is if you're someone who uses your hands and the size of the shot doesn't accommodate them. I mean, I'm doing this deliberate at the moment. You know, don't do it in front of your face. But even if we can't see your hands, it's still really important for everyone to, if you're a gesturer, and most people are, to keep gesturing, because it helps enliven the voice and the eyes and the body, even if we can't see the hands per se. So keep gesturing. It's really.
I've seen people try to stop gesturing, and it kind of looks like it just doesn't look good.
It's like little kids running, and they try not to use their arms, and then you watch them, and then they try to work out how to use their arms differently, and it's really funny.
Generally, they fall over.
Yeah, I know. It's really, yeah, I know. We shouldn't laugh, but it's funny. And Nick, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Chris. I'm just wondering, in your work, is that mainly like you work on the technical aspect of presenting, or do you go deeper with that, with the authenticity? Because, you know, when we want to deliver a message, for me, what's really important when I vibe with a presenter, whether I vibe with a presenter or not, is whether they're in their body, they're present, and they're coming from the heart. They're real, you know, they're not like trying to be something. Because if you think about all these technical stuff, like you're not here sharing from the heart. You know what I mean?
Sorry, Dr. Chris, you're on mute. There was a noise coming somewhere. I had to mute everyone until I could work out what was making it happen.
The short answer to your very, very important question is no, I don't do the technical stuff. I do the human stuff. yeah, other people, if you talk about technical, as in, you know, the technology to drive it, certainly not. But the human aspects of presenting live and or on camera are increasingly important. The more we use technology, the more important the human factor is in all of our communication. So no, I work on the human aspects. There's a thing called the stylized version of you, which is another trademark thing that I've developed over the years, which is how to be authentically you, and yet adapt yourself to the presenting situation. So I'll happily send you a quick little not a workbook, a report, a white paper, if you want to just stick your email in the chat, and I'll do that.
Excellent, well done. And Jay, you're the last one.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate and agree with the point that Chris has come up with in regards to the gestures, right? So Alison will vouch for this. Alison is the only person in this room that's ever seen me actually present live, and I'm very animated. I'm walking around. I'm using my hands, and every time I'm trying to get a point across, there's a gesture that goes with it. And since then, when we hit COVID and we moved into that Zoom space, and I know people can't really see too much what I'm doing here, I started swearing too much because the passion couldn't come out physically in what I was presenting. And so the F-bombs started, and I have to watch that. So, you know, it is important. If you're trying to talk about something you have a passion about, you've got to move, you've got to get it out, or you'll just blow up and swear.
Indeed, and as Anik pointed out, like we relate to the passion. We relate to Jay's passion. We relate, however that's manifested, whether it's throwing your arms around or swearing a bit. That's what we as an audience relate to more than anything else, more than the content. The Moravian thing I mentioned before about 55% body language, 38% the tone of your voice, and 7% the words that you say. Means if those three things aren't working together, no one's going to take a blind bit of notice of you or your business or your presentation or the 7% of the words that you say. It's got to be congruent, and yet it has to be authentic. It has to be authentically you, so you don't try and be someone that you're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Chris. I'm mindful of time, so we're going to keep going. So thank you very much. For those who have more questions for Dr. Chris, just book him for a one-to-one, and then they can ask him some more questions as well.